So Kelly, for a lot of people, self-care is really challenging. Just how do I find the time? How do I find the space? Maybe they're a young mom or a busy working parent, or they just have tons of responsibilities. Like, I don't have time. So how do we overcome that feeling that self-care is too much work, too hard to do, and that we maybe feel selfish doing it because it feels like, well, I should be helping other people, and now I'm taking time for me. How do we navigate the challenges that come with self-care?
I really think if we look at self-care as an investment, um, that kind of changes the game. And again, I did a little pre-work on that word and an investment. This is really cool. An act of devoting time, effort, or energy to a particular behavior, undertaking or behavior with the expectation of a worthwhile result. So it's like, remember what you're working for. What are you trying to accomplish by having the self-care in your life, and reminding yourself that you're just investing in yourself. You're investing in creating for you and the entire environment. I think about I've had a couple of women in our Betrayal and Beyond group ask questions about how do I stand firm? This is a little bit of a left turn here, but how do I stand firm in my safety action plan and in um, enforcing something that's happened when there's been an infraction in that? So, like, how do I practically stand in that when maybe I have feelings of guilt that my husband's sleeping in the other room, or he's still gaslighting me through this, or just making life miserable? Like, how do I stand in this boundary? Because I think boundaries are part of self care, 100%. So, like, how do I stand in that? And again, keeping that perspective of this is an investment in your marriage. It's an investment in your husband's recovery. It's an investment in you feeling safe. So it's like, it's kind of just shifting that perspective and reminding yourself what the goal is. What are you working towards? So I think that that comes in a lot of ways, even in creating a stress a less stressful holiday. I don't know if we can have a stress-free holiday, but a less stressful holiday, reminding yourself that you're creating these boundaries, you're having this time of self-care because you're investing in a desired outcome.
Yeah. I know for me, I struggle with the timing of self care because, like, my wife, she has like work that she does, but primarily she's a stay at home mom. And so when I get home, the thought of me doing self care is kind of like, I feel like I'm putting her out. And so for me, what I've found helpful for me is finding times of the day where I'm not putting her out, where that self-care can happen. And so instead of me taking 30 minutes after I get home from work when she's prepping dinner and all the boys are doing their thing for me to work out, I do it at like 5:30 in the morning. And I know that sounds like an ungodly time of the day. It's not. It's glorious. But at 5:30, no one in my house is awake. And so I'm not sacrificing that time. And the same thing, I mean, everyone on the show probably remembers me saying that, like, going to movies by myself is just a great form of self-care for me. And so I usually wait before the boys have gone down. So again, I'm not putting my wife out. But I also think asking permission or setting up those conversations, I've had tons and tons of benefit come from those conversations with my wife, where it's like, hey, I'm feeling like I really need to do something this week, or I would like to find a time, this week that I can go play tennis with a friend, or I can go see a movie. And having those conversations helps me because she sees value in my self-care as well. And she's not like, no, that's selfish, that's stupid, you should stay home. I don't get that kind of reaction. And so for me, it's almost like I'm having that conversation that gives me that permission that I can make that investment in myself. That's just what has worked for me.
Yeah. You're giving some really practical advice there, and that's awesome. I wanted to back up a step because I think for some people, we do have to address our mindset. Because if we have a mindset that does feel like, boy, these things feel selfish, then, having those conversations is hard to do. And so I think addressing our mindset, I would give again the illustration for me from running, that if I'm trying to run, let's say 30 miles a week, which I know for some that's crazy, but like that'd be normal for me. But if, let's say I tried to do it all on the same day, It would be grueling. My pace would get way, way slow. I'd be in a lot of pain. When it was over, I would be down and out for days, like unable to walk very well. Like it would just be really, really difficult. And I think sometimes in our lives, we're like that. We're like, I'm just going to keep running because people need me. I got stuff to do, too much responsibility, not realizing that we're actually creating lesser results. We're being less active. We're being less engaged in relationships. And if we would take appropriate breaks for self-care, we actually would be better in our relationships. We'd be better as a parent. We'd be better as a spouse. We would do, it's the point of not working on the weekends. It's that then Monday through Friday, I'm more engaged and better at what I do because I'm not just in this slog of I never get that self-care. And so if you can think about it that way, that this will actually help me in my parenting, my relationships, my recovery plan, then I think we look for ways to make it happen. And that mindset shift can just be a real game changer. So figure out, where do I take the breaks, have those conversations, but knowing it's so that, there's a so that in it. It's so that I bring a better version of myself into all those other places.